Marshall, let's get right into this. We had a crazy night of fights. Let's start with Chris Camozzi as he came in here, obviously a UFC vet, with a stoppage, an amazing performance, and at light heavyweight. What are your thoughts on that?
First of all, it's never easy to come and fight in front of the home crowd, so he had a whole audience here pulling for him. He looked good. I mean, he looked big. He definitely looked big. I saw him in the hotel. He felt comfortable. He was happy with the weight cut. And I think he did a good job. You know, he went out there and put it all out on the line. He took some shots. He weathered the storm, and he looks good at the weight. He looks big. He looks like he belongs there.
So do you think we'll see him more at the light heavyweight division then?
I think that's up to him. I think it would be a good place for him to be. There's a lot of opportunities at that division for him, and I'd love to see him fight there.
And let's talk about DAngelo Marshall. He's been calling out Big Bin Sadiq for so long. Are we able to see this fight maybe in Amsterdam?
Look, you know, there are still some fights to be filled out in that card. He's an up-and-coming fighter. It's always nice when a fighter calls out his wannabe opponent. We'll get with the matchmakers and talk about it. I'd like to see the fight. I think the fans would like to see the fight, and let's see what we can do.
I think so, too. Moving on to one of the most controversial decisions between the women's bantamweight champion, Anissa Meksen versus Menezes. Give us your thoughts on that, because I was pretty mind blown. I'm sure you were too.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't the right decision. I don't think it was the right decision. There was. You could come up with a way to try to justify it with aggression. When you look at the punch stat numbers, it's actually closer than maybe a lot of us think. But on a round by round, I mean, maybe you could give Menezes the first round, maybe the third round. I didn't have it that way. I had it as a shutout. It's disappointing. It's tough when these things happen. You know, when you put it in the judge's hands, this is what happens. And so there's a lot of disappointment and there's a lot of elation. We now have 2 Brazilian champions.
That's right. And I saw that you were actually speaking with Anissa back here. What did she have to say?
Look, they're disappointed. You know, it's an emotional night. She was on an amazing run. It was funny as the fight was ending. I was thinking to myself, wow, she is clearly the world dominant fighter in that weight class. That doesn't change for me, the fact that she lost. But for them, they're disappointed. They want a rematch. We'll talk about it. We'll find a way to try and make that happen. I think she's entitled to it, and we should try to make it happen.
And moving on to our main event of the night, Artem Toph. He defended his belt once again, and it was a pretty fun fight.
It was, and it was close. It was a close fight. I think it came down to that 5th round. One of the judges had Alunga up by 2 rounds, I think, or possibly 3. The other ones had it by 1 round. It could have been that 5th round. I haven't seen the scores. But I liked that fight. A lot of technical strikes, a lot of power. There was a moment when Toph, I think it was in the 3rd round or maybe the beginning of the 4th round, he took it to another level. There was a gear that he had. I would have liked to have seen him use that gear through the whole fight, because I think he could have done a lot more damage and it wouldn't have been as close as it ended up being.
And he told me backstage just a few moments ago that he may have broken his hand for the 5th time in the 2nd round.
That's a shame. That's the first time I'm hearing that. You know, hand injuries like this can become chronic, and they've ended a lot of fighters' careers. I hope that's not the case. I did get to speak with him a little bit at the weigh-in, and he's got what looks like a shark bite on his hand already from the surgeries. So I hope he's okay. I hope it's not that. I hope it's a sprain. We'll obviously get the doctors to look at it and hope that he can come back.
Well, one thing, he is definitely a savage. And tonight we had amazing fights, so thank you so much for taking your time.
Oh, thanks. Thanks very much.